Discover 8 spine-chilling and terrifying true horror stories. Unexplainable nightmares exposed. Jenna's heart raced as she pulled into the driveway, her pulse pounding like a drum in her ears. It was never supposed to turn out this way. The friendly suburban neighborhood was supposed to be safe, a place where laughter mingled with the aroma of barbecues, where Lily could play outside without worry. But as dark clouds crept over the horizon, things took a sinister turn. The missing flyers plastered on every lamppost felt like ghostly warnings, a stain on the sunlit streets. Jenna could almost hear the whispers of terrified neighbors behind closed doors. Would she be next? Each day, the pressure of 2 jobs to keep their small life afloat ground her down. But that night, something else clawed at her, an instinctive dread. As she stepped outside after her shift at the diner, a nondescript van lurked across the street. Its engine hummed, a low growl in the stillness that made her skin crawl. It felt alive, waiting. Panic surged in her chest, but she dismissed it as mere paranoia. Just last week, she had seen Mr. Thompson playing catch with his little boy, smiling brightly, a beacon of normalcy. Now, those happy images twisted into something grotesque. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Jenna knew instinctively she needed to act. The community, their perfect neighborhood, was rotting from the inside, like an apple with a bright skin hiding a worm. She started piecing together fragments whispered among worried mothers and furtive glances shared across the yard. Strange sounds echoed from nearby houses at night, thuds and whispers that made her want to claw her way out of her skin. The nightmare escalated as rumors of a protector emerged in hushed tones, someone who dealt with sinister forces, intertwining them with the unseen threads of the disappearances. But Jenna had watched enough horror films to know she could be the one bringing a monster home. The very thought made her stomach churn, especially when she found Lily wandering into the neighbor's backyard one evening, drawn toward the flickering lights that danced like cruel fireflies. Her little girl, so innocent, blissfully unaware of the lurking danger. Summoning a courage she didn't know she had, Jenna confronted the neighbor, a friendly face she had trusted. The conversation spiraled, the room darkening as sinister implications crept into their exchange. Every word sharpened the tension between them, and Jenna felt the distinct tremor of betrayal. The lines separating the protector from the predator had blurred, sending a chill cascading down her spine. The facade was cracking. The neighborhood was transforming into something unrecognizable. Shadows loomed large, and Jenna's heart thundered, echoing a dreadful realization. Just as she finally pieced together the hidden truths, she caught sight of that van again, its headlights cutting through the night like an unforgiving spotlight. A figure lurked inside, waiting, watching. With her daughter at her side, the stakes had never been higher. Was it too late to shield Lily from the darkness that had crept in? A question that would haunt her, stir dread into her soul, echoing through her frantic mind. Could she uncover the truth before it was too late, or would the evil that hid behind the friendly facade consume them both? Jenna's breath caught in her throat as she pulled Lily closer. The van's headlights pierced the night, illuminating the shadows that wrapped around their home like a shroud. The figure within the vehicle shifted, a silhouette watching them, and Jenna's instincts screamed to flee. But where? The walls of their neighborhood felt like a trap now. "Mommy, why are we standing here?" Lily's innocent voice broke through the panic cocooning Jenna. "Just stay close, honey," Jenna whispered, her eyes glued to the van. She needed to think, to act, but her mind raced like a runaway train. If she ran, would they be pursued? As if sensing her turmoil, the van's engine roared to life, a monstrous growl that echoed through the silence. Jenna felt a cold sweat on her back. The figure leaned forward, and all she could see was a shadowed face, obscured by darkness, but the aura radiating from it felt malignant. "Mommy!" Lily tugged at her hand, the small gesture sending a wave of protectiveness crashing over her. "Let's go inside, now!" Jenna pulled Lily along, her heart thumping violently in her chest. She could hear the wear the tires crunched on gravel, their sound cut off too soon, like the last breath of a dying animal. The door flung open as they entered their house. Jenna locked it, her hands shaking as she turned the key. Each click was a promise she could safeguard her daughter. "Why was that man looking at us?" Lily queried, her young face a mask of confusion. That's when Jenna realized it wasn't just the latest neighborhood rumors that were creeping into her mind. It was fear, as primal as the ground beneath her feet. "I don't know, sweetie. He just likes to look." She hated how insipid the answer sounded, empty even. But the truth felt far darker than her daughter could comprehend. They settled down in the living room, the curtains pulled tight, every creak in the house magnified in the charged silence. Jenna wrapped her arms around Lily, cradling her like she could shield her from what lurked outside. The sounds outside had changed. Whispers joined the hum of the van's engine. They layered over one another, weaving a tapestry of dread. Suddenly, there was a hard knock at the door. Jenna's heart stopped. "Stay here," she ordered Lily, her voice steadier than she felt. Another knock, harder this time, rattled the doorframe. The noise was suffocating. Jenna tiptoed to the door, swallowing her fear. Peering through the peephole, what she saw sent a jolt of pure ice into her veins. The figure from the van stood there, illuminated by the porch light, a sinister smile breaking across their face. It felt wrong, grotesque. They seemed to know Jenna was watching. "Someone's in trouble," the figure called, voice smooth and chilling. "I can help, if you let me." A laugh echoed in the back of her mind, blending with the whispers that encased her like a noose. Jenna stumbled back from the door, dread pooling in her stomach. There was a choice looming over them, as dark as the storm gathering in the night sky outside. Lily peeked around the corner, panic wreathing her features. "Mommy, who is it?" Could Jenna trust this stranger? Could she risk letting this protector into their lives? Just stay back was all she could muster, the weight of the truth pressing heavily against her chest. A decision had to be made, one that could change everything for them. As she steeled her nerves, Jenna realized that maybe the real monster was already within their walls, and all its ravenous hunger was waiting to be unleashed. And then it hit her. What if the only way to protect Lily was to give in? After all, in a world of darkness, who could she really trust? Jenna's mind spun as she stood there, the darkness closing in around her, a suffocating blanket that smothered reason and clarity. The smooth voice from outside dripped with a false calmness that made her skin crawl. Each second stretched painfully as she weighed the dreadful options before her. "Mommy," Lily's thin voice broke through the panic, each syllable trembling as she clutched the hem of Jenna's shirt. Jenna knelt and pulled Lily close. "I need you to listen to me. No matter what you hear, don't open the door. Not for anyone." "Not even for you?" Her daughter's eyes widened, a pool of pure innocence. "No, baby, especially not for me." The truth of that statement settled over them like a grave reminder. They were trapped in a nightmare where even trust felt like a betrayal. The figure continued to knock. Each thud reverberated in Jenna's chest, a morbid heartbeat echoing in her ears. "I can see you, Jenna. You can't hide. You need me. Let me in." That voice twisted her stomach. A wave of nausea rolled over her as she turned away, backing further into the living room, her heart pounding like a war drum. The shadows danced across the walls, mocking her plight, as the whispers outside swirled with an insatiable hunger. "What does he want?" Lily asked, her small body pressing against Jenna's leg, searching for safety. "I don't know," Jenna replied softly, though inside she screamed at the uncertainty. "But we can't let him in, not now." As the figure outside leaned against the door, Jenna risked another peek through the peephole. The smile was still there, wider now, as though feeding off her dread. His eyes glinted with something she couldn't quite grasp, a primal desperation maybe, or was it something more sinister? "Last chance, sweetheart," he crooned, voice silky smooth. "I can make it all go away. Just let me in." But wasn't he the very source of all their fear? This monster cloaked as a savior? Uncontrollably, Jenna choked back a sob. They would make it through the night. She had to believe that. But dread began creeping in, creeping closer, inching towards her sanity. Her cell phone buzzed on the table, a lifeline. Frantically she picked it up, shocked relief flooding her senses. She dialed 911, fingers shaky. "Please, please, someone." The operator's voice came through, smooth and reassuring, but all Jenna could hear were the knocks outside, insistent and taunting. "We're sending someone," the woman said. "Stay on the line." Suddenly, the knocking stopped. Jenna strained to hear, her breath hitching. Silence blanketed the house, and her pulse quickened. It felt wrong, a void so thick it could suffocate. "Mommy, are they coming?" Lily pulled at her sleeve. "Yes, baby, they're coming." But deep down, Jenna couldn't shake the growing sense of despair that gripped her. What if the help never arrived? And then came a soft scraping noise against the door. "What's happening, Mommy?" "Stay back, stay behind me." Jenna's heart raced as she moved to shield Lily, instinct pushing her forward. The door rattled slightly, almost playfully, and Jenna's throat tightened. Had he found a way to get in? "Trust is a double-edged sword," the figure called, his voice more of a hiss than a sweet promise now. "You're already bound. You just don't know it yet." The coldness seeped through Jenna like ice water. The connection sparked in her mind, a creeping realization. She had been so focused on the figure that she hadn't acknowledged the underlying feeling whispering truths that petrified her. Suddenly, the lights flickered. They plunged into darkness. "Mommy!" "Hold on tight." Jenna grabbed Lily as panic swelled. The power cut was more than an inconvenience. It was a shroud of terror wrapping tightly around them. In that split second, she heard the softest creak of the back door, an invitation she never asked for. And then came the laughter outside, a cacophony that twisted the night air. It was coming from every direction, echoing in her ears, taunting her through the balance of her fear. Jenna felt the walls closing in as dread settled like lead in her stomach. Had they really been chosen, or was this all a cruel trick? She turned to Lily, eyes wide and glistening with unshed tears. "We need to be very quiet, no matter what happens, understand?" But Jenna could feel the monster lurking closer than ever, and a chilling thought gripped her. What if, within the shadows of her own home, they were never truly safe? As the laughter swelled, so did her desperation. She needed a choice, a heartbeat away from a revelation she might not be ready to face. And then she heard something even more chilling, a soft whisper right by her ear. "Let me in." What would happen next? The darkness thickened around them, an oppressive force that filled every corner of the house. Jenna clutched Lily tighter, feeling her daughter's small frame trembling against her. The heaviness in the air felt alive, and every breath Jenna took tasted of fear and despair. She strained her ears, but the only sounds were the ragged whispers of the wind and the haunting laughter that danced just outside their walls. "Mommy, I'm scared," Lily whispered, her voice so small it almost vanished. "I know, sweetheart, I'm scared too," Jenna admitted, unable to mask the tremor in her voice. She felt a fierce protectiveness surge inside her. She had to keep Lily safe, no matter the cost. "Do you think they'll find us?" Jenna swallowed hard, fighting against the wave of hopelessness that threatened to engulf her. No, they won't find us. We're safe here." Yet even as she spoke, the foundation of her reassurance crumbled beneath the weight of the unknown. The whispered laughter was growing louder, more urgent. It sounded almost gleeful, as if the shadows themselves were cracking jokes at their expense. The sound scraped against Jenna's nerves like fingernails on a chalkboard, gnawing at her sanity. "Help!" she cried out into the void, desperation edging her voice higher. "Someone, please!" But the more she screamed, the more it felt like her words were absorbed by the darkness, her pleas swallowed whole. Her phone buzzed again on the table, but it was a cruel joke. No signal, no voice on the other end. Just the cold, hard truth. They were alone. The soft creak of the back door echoed loudly, slicing through the air. It was followed by a sudden, sharp thud, as if something had hit the floor inside the house. Jenna's heart slammed in her chest, adrenaline flooding her veins. "Mommy!" Lily's grip tightened around her waist, eyes wide with terror. "What was that?" Jenna whispered, voice barely audible, her breath a shaky tremor. "Maybe it's the police?" "No, baby," she said, fighting to keep her voice steady. "The police would knock. This is—" Before she could finish her thought, a sharp bang erupted against the front door. "Let me in!" the figure called, and it sounded closer this time, much closer. "Just a little closer to you." Jenna's instinct screamed at her to grab Lily and run, but there was nowhere to go. The momentum of terror clung to her like a second skin, paralyzing her with indecision. "Quiet. Just stay quiet," she ordered, sinking to the floor, hoping the darkness would conceal her. But silence pressed in on her. All she could hear was her heart thundering against her ribcage. Time felt distorted, every second an eternity, stretching endlessly. Then a shuffling noise came from the kitchen, rustling through the shadows. It sounded like footsteps, deliberate and slow, increasing the suffocating dread curdling in her stomach. "Mommy," Lily whispered again, her voice trembling. Jenna squeezed her daughter, wishing she could shield her completely from the horror creeping ever closer. She wanted to glance toward the kitchen, but every fiber of her being screamed at her to stay still, to remain hidden like prey. "Safe is just a word," the figure taunted again, his voice slithering through the cracks of the house. "But you know what's really fun? A little game of hide and seek." The laughter surged outside again, this time mingling with the sound of a rattling doorknob, twisting slowly and methodically, as though savoring each moment of anticipation. Panic flooded Jenna's body, flooding her senses with adrenaline. In that dim, suffocating atmosphere, the walls of her sanctuary transformed into something sinister, and Jenna understood that the security she had fought so hard to maintain was crumbling before her. The shadow lurking in her home wasn't merely a figure, it was a manifestation of her greatest fear, a fear that those who she trusted could easily turn into something monstrous. "Mommy," Lily whimpered once more, and at that moment, The doorknob clicked and fell silent, leaving an eerie stillness that felt far worse than the chaos before. What's happening? Just then, the lights flickered back to life with an almost sickening buzz, revealing the figure standing in the kitchen doorway. Let's play. And right before Jenna could process the wild panic surging within her, the figure grinned widely, and suddenly the illusion of safety shattered with a shriek. Where would they run now? What lay in wait for them? The next moment would seal their fate. The figure stood there, shrouded in darkness, but for the faint glimmer of light catching the edges of a sinister smile. Jenna's heart raced. It felt as though the pounding in her chest would announce their presence to their stalker. She held Lily closer, the girl's small body pressed against Jenna, their breaths mingling in frantic gasps. "Mommy, I want to go home." Lily's voice trembled, innocent and heart-wrenching. Jenna's mind raced as she fought to suppress the urge to scream. Home felt like a forgotten dream. This place was twisted, a prison. But she needed Lily to be calm, to believe in an escape that felt impossible. "Shh," she whispered, though she wanted to scream. "Just stay quiet." The figure took a step forward, its movements smooth, too calculated. "Hide and seek," it crooned, sing-song, as if they were about to play a simple game on a sunny afternoon, rather than dreadfully perched on the edge of survival. "How about I seek, and you just hide?" Jenna's stomach knotted. She scanned the room, looking for any place to escape, any glimmer of salvation. But the shadows seemed to stretch and protect the figure as it moved further into the room, consuming the light around it. With each passing moment, hope slipped further away, drowning in an abyss of despair. Suddenly, the laughter returned, louder now, echoing off of the walls, bouncing around the room like a mocking chorus. Was it a single voice or a cacophony? Jenna couldn't tell. It sounded both near and impossibly far, causing her to frantically search every corner for an exit. Then, without warning, the lights flickered again, plunging them into darkness once more. In the pitch black, Jenna felt a cold sweat break across her skin. The laughter died down, leaving behind an unsettling silence. They were hidden now. The light could have been a blessing, a false sense of safety, but it only deepened their terror. "Mommy," Lily whispered again, her voice a thread of fear. "Shh," Jenna hissed, but her own heart raced, echoing in her ears. Footsteps echoed again, first in the living room, then receding as if the figure was pacing, weighing its options. Each sound reverberated with a sinister rhythm, pulling at Jenna's nerves. The stillness lingered, taunting her. What was the figure doing? Was it waiting? Watching? A creeping dread slithered into her mind. What if it was only toying with them? Jenna felt the weight of impending doom, and with every heartbeat, the figure drew closer. Suddenly, the lights surged back on, illuminating the room in stark, cruel reality. The kitchen was empty. "Mommy," Lily trembled. "Stay quiet," Jenna whispered fiercely, but the urge to scream surged back up within her. Where had it gone? And then she saw it. A distorted reflection in the glass of a cabinet door, a fleeting glimpse of a face twisted in shadows, breathing heavily, a glint of something sharp glistening in its hand. Her instincts kicked in. They needed to move. She pulled Lily to her feet, urgency overcoming fear. "We have to go!" But as they turned towards the nearest door, the figure rushed back into the sphere of light, filling the space between them with malevolence. "Did you think I'd just let you escape?" it hissed, voice raspy and mocking. "Mommy!" Lily screamed, the terror breaking free. "No!" Jenna shouted, But it was too late. The figure lunged, reaching for them, fingers clawing through the air like tendrils of darkness, the room morphing into a nightmare as a shadow ripped at their fate. As they collided, Jenna felt a grip on reality loosen. In that dread-filled moment, she realized they had no choice but to confront whatever horror awaited them. Would it prove to be their salvation or total obliteration? And just before the darkness pulled them fully in, the figure grinned wider, whispering, "Game over," its voice trailing into chaos as shadows enveloped them. What final choice would define their fate? Would they vanish forever into despair, or find the strength to claw back into the light? Light. Jenna's world collapsed into a visceral nightmare. In that dreadful moment, the figure lunged forward, its hand reaching out, shadow gliding to consume their very essence. The air thickened with the scent of decay, an iron tang that clawed at her throat, urging her to panic. She pulled Lily back as the figure's clawing grasp missed them by mere inches. The voice crackled with glee. So close, just a little closer. It was a twisted game for this monster. Jenna was not going to play anymore. They were out of time. "Run!" she gasped, adrenaline igniting every muscle in her body. They pushed through the doorway, barreling into the dim hallway beyond, where the flickering lights cast tortured shadows against the walls. Her heart thundered in her chest like a war drum, matching the frantic rhythm of their escape. The hallway stretched endlessly before them, lined with doors that whispered secrets of despair and dread. Each door seemed to lead to a different nightmare. Her instincts screamed for her not to look back. Lily was frantic, her small hand slipping from Jenna's grasp as a flicker of light speared through the oppressive darkness. "Mommy, I can't!" In an instant, Jenna turned, quickly snatching Lily back into her embrace. "Hold on tight," she urged, fear clawing at her throat. The laughter echoed behind them, distorted but clear, bursting into maniacal giggles. The walls themselves seemed to pulse with malicious glee. They charged toward the end of the hall, seeking refuge, but finding only another door at the far end, its rusty doorknob stained dark. Jenna hesitated for only a moment, the dread pooling heavily in her stomach. With no other option, she twisted the knob. It clicked open with a reluctant groan. Just as they spilled through, the laughs crescendoed, reverberating in an insane harmony. Jenna slammed the door shut behind them, her back pressed against it, breath hitching in her throat. The room was filled with strange artifacts, remnants of forgotten lives. A chandelier swayed gently in the stale air, and cobweb-covered furniture loomed like specters in the corners. "Where are we?" Lily whimpered, tiny arms wrapped tightly around her mother. "I don't know," she whispered, voice trembling under the weight of their terror. "But we have to be quiet." But silence hung heavily, mocking them. A soft humming began, a low melody intertwining with the silence. Jenna's skin crawled as she turned towards the sound, her eyes darting to a figure emerging from the darkness. A different shadow, this time clad in a long, tattered dress. It moved with an otherworldly grace, weaving in and out of the light. "Welcome, welcome," it sang softly, a chilling lullaby that slithered through the air. "You've come to play, just like the others." Jenna's pulse roared in her ears. "Stay back," she hissed, clutching Lily protectively. Lily's body trembled, small shoulders shaking with fear. The figure's eyes glimmered, and a smile stretched across its gaunt face, both inviting and sinister. "It's more fun when there are so many to join." Nausea threatened to overwhelm Jenna. Frantically, she scanned for an exit, desperation clawing at her mind. This was another trap. She could feel it, wrapping around them like a noose. The humming grew louder, almost drowning out her thoughts. and the walls seemed to pulse again, echoing with the anguished cries of lost souls. As if in response, the door behind them rattled, a furious pounding announcing the arrival of the dark figure they had just escaped. "Let's play," the voice taunted from beyond, each word licked with malice. Jenna's breath quickened, and in that moment of fear, she made a choice. They had to fight. They had to escape. She kissed Lily's forehead. "On the count of 3, we grab something, anything. Then we run. Ready?" Lily nodded, determination flickering in her wide eyes. 1, 2. The door burst open, revealing the figure silhouetted against the darkness, rage radiating from it. 3. And in that split second, would they choose to confront the terror or flee deeper into its clutches? The room spun, shadows closing in, as Jenna prepared for the fight of their lives. What lay beyond the threshold of terror? What horrifying truth awaited in the darkness? Jenna lunged to the side, her instinct screaming as she yanked Lily with her. The figure's outstretched hand grazed her arm, cold as death, leaving behind a chill that gnawed at her skin. The monster roared, a beast enraged at missing its prey. It filled the doorway, blocking their only route of escape, a shadow come to life. "Grab the candlestick," she shouted, her voice a fraying thread of urgency. Lily, eyes wide, rushed forward, her small hands fumbling with the heavy object, topped with an ornate figurine. Jenna's mind raced, adrenaline swallowing any semblance of fear. The room seemed alive, walls pulsating, resonating with the hardness of her panicked heart. With a mighty effort, Jenna pulled Lily close. "Now, this way!" She dashed toward another door on the right, the scuffed wood promising possible safety. The laughter behind them flared, a cacophony of insanity echoing in their ears. They nearly collided with the door, but Jenna twisted the knob, bursting through to the other side. This room was dimmer, a cavern of shadows and secrets. It smelled of mildew mixed with something far worse, something rancid and ancient. Before her eyes adjusted, she felt it, a soft, clammy touch against her ankle. She recoiled, heart slamming in her chest, and looked down. A figure lay curled on the floor, its pallid skin an expanse of shadows. A child? No, a wretched thing, too distorted to be alive. Its eyes popped open, black wells of despair, and it cried out, not with words, but with an echo of loss that chilled the marrow in Jenna's bones. "Mommy!" Lily shrieked, pulling back in horror. "Stay close," Jenna ordered, a frantic grip on her daughter's hand. She wasn't sure if the thing was dangerous or simply a remnant of this house's dark history, but they couldn't afford to stop and wonder. They had to keep moving. The perverse laughter still echoed. "Flee all you want," the voice taunted, dripping with malice, "but you'll end up like them." Jenna swallowed her fear, forcing a shaky breath. They dashed to the other end of the room. A glimmer of hope struck her when she spotted another exit. With a violent shove, she threw open the door, her heart pounding like a sledgehammer in her chest. This corridor was different, more oppressive, as if the walls themselves were closing in. Flickering lights overhead buzzed like angry bees, casting chaotic shadows that danced menacingly. "Mommy, what if it gets us?" Lily's voice trembled. "Shh, we're fine. Just keep going," Jenna urged, though doubt crept in like a thief. She glanced back towards the room they fled, and the figures at the doorway glared hungrily. The corridor seemed to warp, stretching and bending as they ran. Jenna felt the floor pulse beneath her feet, as if the building had a heartbeat, a monstrous one eager to claim them. A door emerged on their left. Without thinking, Jenna flung it open and pushed them inside. The air was stale, suffocating, and when Jenna turned to look for a way out, her breath hitched. They were enclosed in a room filled with mirrors. The reflections showed distorted versions of themselves, twisted smiles on faces that looked like hers, but weren't. "Mommy," Lily whimpered, her gaze locked onto one of the mirrors where a shadow inched closer to surface, dark and dripping. Fear rose like bile in Jenna's throat. She needed to get out. She needed to protect Lily. As if sensing her panic, the reflections laughed, each echo sharp and taunting. "You are not alone, Jenna," they whispered, their voices a hissing wind weaving a sinister tapestry of madness. "I won't let you take her," Jenna yelled, the desperation fueling her. She spun around, looking for an escape, but the shadows laughed louder, mocking her sanity. With every ounce of strength, she grabbed Lily's hand. "We need to break them. We need to escape." Just then, the shrill laughter reached a fever pitch, and one of the mirrors cracked, splintering outwards like a spiderweb. Behind it, darkness loomed, a gaping maw threatening to swallow them whole. Jenna's heart raced. The figures were closing in. Time was slipping away. "Jump!" she shouted, the crack behind the mirror widening, almost pulsing with hunger. But would they leap into the unknown or succumb to the terror that crept closer? What horrors awaited if they crossed that threshold? Only one choice remained, and it's a choice they had to make now. Jenna felt time slow as she searched for the courage to jump. The crack widened, dark tendrils curling out like fingers seeking their next victims. "Mommy!" Lily tugged at her, desperation weaving through her voice. As if sensing her hesitation, the shadows around them writhed, almost palpable in their hunger. "Now! On 3!" Jenna shouted, willing herself to be brave. 1, 2, 3! They leaped. Time seemed to stretch, a heartbeat, and then they were falling, tumbling into the darkness behind the shattered mirror. A sudden cold engulfed them, air turning sharp and biting. They hit the ground hard, rolling apart. Jenna gasped for air, crawling towards Lily, panic surging when she spotted her daughter sitting upright, trembling. "Are we safe?" Lily whispered, looking around. Jenna glanced up. They were inside a vast, empty hall, as oppressive as the old house, only instead of walls, they were surrounded by fog. It wrapped around them like a shroud, obscuring shapes moving just beyond sight. I don't know." She fought to steady her voice, scanning the ethereal space. It felt wrong in every way, the air thick with anticipation. Suddenly, without warning, echoes pierced the silence, whispers creeping through the fog, knotting Jenna's stomach. "Welcome back. It's your turn." The chilling voices slithered around them like snakes. "Mommy, I want to go home." Lily's voice broke, raw with fear. "We'll find a way, I promise," Jenna replied, her heart racing. But the truth sat like a stone in her chest. She had no idea where they were or how to leave. Then she spotted a flicker of light ahead, beckoning through the mist. "Look, Lily, let's go that way," Jenna said, pulling her along. Each step felt heavy, the air thicker with every move. Shadows loomed in the periphery, flitting in and out of view. The light grew brighter as they approached. A door loomed ahead, old and wooden, etchings steeped in darkness. Jenna felt an inexplicable pull towards it, a mixture of hope and dread sending chills coursing through her body. "We're almost there," she encouraged, even as a sense of impending doom chilled her bones. Just as they reached the door, it burst open with a creak that echoed through the hall. Inside was a dimly lit room filled with otherworldly symbols swirling on the walls, alive with energy. Deep shadows writhed in laughter. The whispered promises rang louder, and in the far corner, shapes yet unseen twisted, beckoning them closer. "Stay close," Jenna warned, feeling the familiar tug of darkness that had followed them all night. Lily squeezed her hand, eyes wide as they crossed the threshold. The moment they entered, the door slammed shut behind them, sealing off any chance of return. "Mommy, I feel strange." Lily's voice quivered, her body growing slack. Jenna turned to her daughter, panic rising in her chest as she watched a shadow flicker across Lily's face, a transformation creeping into her features. "No, not you too!" The room began to pulse with a dark rhythm, noise building in intensity, threatening to drown them both. Jenna's mind raced. What is happening? She reached for Lily, but found her hand slipping away, the shadows tugging at her little body as if it were a forgotten toy. "Lily, come back!" Panic clawed at Jenna's throat, but the shadows were too strong, the laughter too loud. As she fought against the darkness, Jenna felt her grip weakening, the realm around them shifting, distorting their reality. Just then, the whispers solidified. "Join us. All will be well," the voices chanted as if welcoming her to a twisted sanctuary. "Never!" Jenna screamed, feeling the overwhelming dread threaten to pull her under. With her heart pounding, she stared defiantly into the shadows, refusing to let them take her daughter without a fight. The laughter crescendoed, a full orchestra of madness shattering her resolve. As the shadows closed in, time slipped away, threads unraveling. Would Jenna give in, or was there still a sliver of hope in the chaos? Then something caught her eye, a glint of light in the corner. "Follow me!" she shouted, breaking away from the grip of despair. But would her choice lead them into salvation or a deeper abyss? The darkness surged, and Jenna braced for what lay ahead. Would she uncover the secrets that haunted this place, or cement their fate forever? Only a step remained, and it had to be taken. Jenna lunged toward the glimmer, breath hitching as unseen forces lashed against her. The air crackled with tension, a storm roiling just beneath the surface. She could feel Lily's hand slipping further away, lights dancing in the shadows like taunting specters. Every instinct screamed at Jenna to flee, but the desperate pull toward the light was too strong to resist. "Lily, hold on!" Her voice broke against the swirling chaos, urgency giving it an edge. With each frantic step, Jenna's heart pounding echoed like a drum against the oppressive silence. The glimmer pulsed rhythmically, as if it had a heartbeat of its own. She skidded to a halt, gazing at the source, a small, ornate mirror propped against the far wall. Its surface shimmered with an otherworldly glow, reflecting a brighter world that did not belong here. Tangles of fog dared to wrap around her, but it shrank back from the mirror's light. "Mommy, I can't. I feel so heavy." Lily's voice trailed off, haunting and distant, as shadows surged closer. They clawed at her, tugging greedily, and Jenna felt the room close in around them, suffocating in its desperation. Glancing back at Lily, Jenna felt a cold blade of terror slice through her chest. The shadow that hovered over her daughter was now swirling hungrily, blurring her features. "No, not my baby!" Jenna shouted, lunging forward, closing the distance in a heartbeat. "Help me!" Lily's eyes glistened with pleading, but the light around the mirror flickered menacingly. It seemed to promise safety, yet something deep within Jenna warned her of the price. "Stay with me, we need to get to the mirror." Jenna's voice was wild, filled with a feral intensity as she reached for Lily. Shadows danced at her feet, snaking up her legs, their grip growing tighter, colder. Jenna could hear them clearly, dark laughter echoing through the void, mocking her bravery. "You cannot save her. Join." "Shut up!" Jenna screamed, her breath ragged. She was almost there, almost reaching Lily. She grasped her daughter just as the shadows surged forward, binding Jenna's legs like iron chains. "Mommy!" Lily cried, as they both fell to the ground, the weight of darkness suffocating them. Sweat ran down Jenna's back, icy and slick, pushing against despair. She had to try. With every ounce of strength, Jenna tugged at the shadows, their form twisting against her will. "Let her go!" The scream felt like a lifeline in the abyss. Finally, she pulled Lily towards the mirror, its surface gleaming like a beacon. She could almost hear a melody rising from within, joyful yet sinister. Jenna could see their reflections flicker, images of a world where they belonged. "Almost there! Hold on, baby!" Suddenly, a jolt of electricity coursed through her arms, as if the mirror had recognized her desperation. The shadows shrieked, their voices combined into a cacophony of rage. They coiled tighter around Jenna, threatening to drag her into the depths. The mirror pulsed again, now brighter, blinding Jenna. She felt hope igniting a flame within her, but the shadows shrieked louder, a chorus of madness enveloping them. "You will not escape! You belong to us!" In a final surge of defiance, Jenna hurled them toward the mirror. As they crashed against it, Jenna felt a rush of something, warmth or hope, she couldn't tell. Time seemed to stretch, the world twisting around them, as she grasped Lily tight, ready to throw everything into the chaos. Then the glass cracked, spiderwebs of white fracturing the perfect reflection as something clawed from the other side. "Don't leave me, Mommy!" Lily's voice trembled. With a cry of desperation, Jenna leapt, clutching her daughter as they smashed through the illusion. The world erupted into chaos, for the haunting void still loomed, cold and relentless. Flashes of faces raced by, lost souls but not quite gone. And then, silence. Jenna opened her eyes, lying on the floor of a new room. The walls were solid, gray, and strewn with ragged banners. But the whispers still lingered, faint and slithering, brushing the edges of her mind. "Welcome home," the shadows whispered, echoing her heart's darkest corners. "Mommy, are we really safe now?" Lily's voice shuffled through the air, trembling but present. Jenna gripped her tighter, uncertainty gnawing at her. She couldn't shake the feeling that whatever they had escaped had merely shifted shapes. What were they truly safe from? A chilling breeze swept through the room, and Jenna froze. The banners flapped violently, and for the briefest moment she thought she saw faces twisted in agony within the fabric. The whispering escalated, flooding the air with a rhythm that was both inviting and terrifying. "Come play with us." Jenna's blood ran cold. What lay ahead? The shadows whispered tantalizing secrets, too dreadful to uncover. In that moment, she knew they weren't finished, not even close. Jenna blinked, the familiar fear wrapping around her like the suffocating chill of winter. She was here, in this room filled with twisting shadows and taunting whispers, existing between reality and horror. She looked down at Lily, still clutching her hand, but a palpable shift had struck her child. Was it the darkness that lingered, or had something else crept in? "Mommy, I'm tired," Lily yawned, her innocence a fragile shield in the midst of chaos. Jenna felt anguish flood her chest. The vulnerability in her daughter's voice cut deeper than any knife. "I know, sweetheart, I know," she murmured softly, ruffling Lily's hair. But there was no time for comfort. The dark was shifting, coiling with a sinister impatience, eager to reclaim what it had missed. Jenna stood up straighter, forcing the weight of dread off her shoulders. They had fought too hard to be free. She would not allow any shade of darkness to take hold again. "We can't stay here," she said firmly, gripping Lily's hand tighter. "We need to find a way out." The shadows swirled around them, whispering enticing promises. "There's no escape," they hissed, trying to pull Jenna into their malevolent grasp. "You belong to us." "No!" Jenna shouted back, her voice sharpening with resolve. "We will find the light." In that moment, a flicker of strength ignited within her, sparking against the weight of despair. If there was darkness in this place, there had to be light too. "Follow me, Lily," she urged, finding a door set against the far wall, slightly ajar, faint golden light seeping through. With each step toward the light, Jenna could feel the environment shift. Walls seemed to pulse with anticipation, the shadows recoiling as if unsure of what was unfolding before them. She pushed through the door, pulling Lily close, and they stepped into a large room flooded with warm golden light. The air felt alive, vibrant, and for the first time that night, Jenna breathed in deeply, feeling the constrictions of fear loosening. "We made it!" she exclaimed, a spark of hope igniting her voice. "Where are we?" Lily asked, her small brows knitting together in confusion. "I think we are safe," Jenna said, though uncertainty woven in her heart reminded her that darkness could still lurk nearby. As they looked around, Jenna could see that the room was adorned with soft curtains and wildflowers brightening every corner, a stark contrast to the horrors they had just faced. But then came the whispers again, softer, but they coiled around her thoughts, seductive and alluring. "You are safe here. Join the others." "Stay with me, Lily," Jenna instructed, a sense of urgency threading through her words. "We don't belong here." They began to move toward the end of the room, seeking an escape, when Jenna's gaze fell upon a figure standing in the corner, draped in light, but with shadows dancing at the edges. It seemed otherworldly, yet familiar, a silhouette radiating a gentle glow. A fragile sense of calm mixed with dread wrapped around her. "Welcome, Jenna," the figure said.
"We've been waiting for you." At the sound of her name, Jenna's heart raced. "Who are you?" she demanded, instinctively shielding Lily behind her. "I am the guardian of this realm," the figure replied, gesturing elegantly as if beckoning them closer. "You have traversed darkness and emerged stronger. You have a choice now." "A choice?" Jenna echoed, her heart hammering in her chest, forcing herself to stay vigilant. "Join us," the figure whispered, face shifting in and out of clarity. "You could truly belong here. All the pain, the terror, gone." Jenna felt a wave of temptation wash over her. It would be so easy to succumb, to live without fear. But at what cost? She looked at Lily, innocence shining back at her, and a fierce wave of love surged through. "No, we won't leave each other," she declared, stepping back firmly. The figure's face twisted ever so slightly, frustration flaring in its otherwise calm demeanor. "Very well, but there are consequences for forsaking this invitation. You will encounter waves of fear and shadows you can't imagine." Jenna's breath hitched, and she turned to Lily. She knew the shadows would follow, but she also understood the strength of their bond. "We can face anything together, right, sweetie?" "Yes, Mommy," Lily affirmed, her small voice steady, emboldening Jenna. "All right," Jenna said, determination flooding her veins again. "We choose light over darkness." The guardian's expression hardened, as if it hadn't expected such defiance. Shadows erupted like a storm, swirling furiously, clashing against the warm light that surrounded them. "Then you shall face your fears," the guardian shrieked. The room trembled violently. forever trapped in a cycle you will never escape. The shadows rushed at them all at once, swirling in a frenzy of dark despair, shadows taking shape, horrific and anguished. But with Lily firmly in her grasp, Jenna steeled her heart. "Let them come," she shouted defiantly, standing tall against the surge of dark. "I'd choose this fight every time, as long as I have my daughter." In that moment, everything shifted. Light erupted around them, pushing against the shadows like a surge of electricity, illuminating the entire room in blinding brilliance. Jenna felt the warmth engulf her and Lily, the darkness shrieking in fury as the shadows crumpled away, retreating into nothingness. The figure of the guardian began to fade, its anguished cries lost in the blinding light. All at once there was silence, a profound stillness enveloping them. Jenna opened her eyes, finding herself in a soft meadow, bathed in sunlight, flowers bright and alive, whispering of freedom. "Did we make it?" Lily asked, her gaze wide with wonder. "Yes, baby, we did," Jenna breathed, rushing forward to embrace her daughter tightly. Tears streamed down her face. They had faced the darkness and emerged unscathed. "We're free now." As they stood there, the memories of horror began to drift away like smoke in the sunlight. They walked hand in hand, leaving the horrors
behind. The past could no longer reach them, and their future awaited, a canvas of bright possibilities. "Together," Jenna whispered, holding tightly to Lily, ready to step into a new dawn shaped by choices made in love, connection, and hope. As they moved further into the light, a new journey beckoned, one without shadows, filled with laughter and the promise of safety. And in that instant, the whispers faded, the taint of darkness extinguished. They could finally breathe free. Now it's your turn. You need to subscribe now to our channel so you won't miss our next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and let us know you want more. Remember to flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about this ending. We want to hear everything. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Show your support.